Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we have the 2011 DVD and Blu-ray pay-per-view collection. This is a smaller pay-per-view collection than the years prior to this. They were definitely at the end of the brand split era by this point in time, and doing more Raw super shows and things like that. So let's get right into this with the Royal Rumble 2011 Blu-ray. I do have a few of the Blu-rays here. So if I can, I pick up the Blu-rays. If not, I just have the regular DVDs. So this one was a special DVD and Blu-ray combo pack featuring the biggest Royal Rumble in history, the 40-man Rumble. So here we got our standard DVD and then our Blu-ray. They only did this a couple of times. Something I always like checking out are the pay-per-view schedules. You could see they had a bragging rights planned, which Hell in a Cell just got moved to later in the month. They also had a second Fatal 4-Way planned, which thankfully they did not do that. This is actually a really fun Blu-ray to go back and watch. You got The Miz versus Randy Orton, the 40-man Rumble, which Del Rio won. Edge versus Ziggler. We got a Fatal 4-Way for the Divas title, and then loads of Blu-ray exclusives, which is just highlights from the Raw there. We got Natalya versus Melina, Edge versus The Miz, and the losers group is out of the Rumble, CM Punk versus Wade Barrett. So a lot going on with this Royal Rumble. I believe this is the year where I think CM Punk and Daniel Bryan started 1 and 2. Yeah. Yeah, Diesel returned, Booker T. All kind of cool people. This was also in Boston. So next up here we got Elimination Chamber 2011. In case you didn't know, this is Edge. This also has some exclusive features with the Rock's return on Raw. I feel like I can't even talk right now. So again, this is another DVD and Blu-ray combo pack, which I think this is a good idea, but not for WWE DVDs. The Blu-ray is definitely the higher quality. So pretty much the same. You got your standard Chamber logo and then your blue Chamber logo. And this Elimination Chamber, I really don't remember much from it. This was in Oakland, and we had a chamber match for the world title, for the WWE title shot, which I believe John Cena won. You had The Miz versus Jerry Lawler, and the Core versus Santino and Kozlov. Yeah. Yikes. Packaging looks okay. And then we have The Rock's return to WWE. We got Cena versus CM Punk on Raw. And then The Miz versus Daniel Bryan. And more. We also got the War of Words between Rock and Cena. It says it's 9 hours. I don't think that's accurate. And then WrestleMania 27. This is a 2-disc collector's edition. Never really the biggest fan of this WrestleMania, apart from Triple H and Taker. It's only a 2-disc set. You got your WrestleMania and then your Hall of Fame, which I'm happy to have. But your main matches here were the No Holds Barred with the streak on the line. This was a 4-year story arc between Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. You had Edge in his final match here. Randy Orton versus CM Punk. The Miz versus Cena. Of course, Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole. Not a good show. Pass on that one if you can. Extreme Rules 2011. I thought this was a good show. Much better than WrestleMania, and that often happens here. Spoiler cover. And I believe this is the show where they captured Bin Laden. So that's the significance behind this pay-per-view. John Cena had a public announcement after the show. We had a TLC, or a ladder match here for the world title, which Christian won. Steel cage match for the WWE title. Last man standing between Orton and CM Punk. You had a country whipping match between JR and the King versus Michael Cole and Jack Swagger. Falls count anywhere between Mysterio and Cody Rhodes. And the loser leaves WWE. This would be Michelle McCool's last match. Again, tons of special features on these, with Edge's retirement announcement and The Rock's birthday celebration. Next up, Over the Limit 2011. Got The Miz on the cover with Daniel Bryan. I don't hate the name of this pay-per-view, but I think it could have been a bit better. Seems a bit cheesy. Like, what was wrong with Backlash and Judgment Day that they had before this? Or even what the prior year they had Over the Limit, Fatal 4-Way. So we'd have to go back to, The Bash, which I always liked the name The Bash, or Great American Bash. This wasn't a good pay-per-view. It had its high spots. Orton versus Christian, I think, was definitely a highlight during this year. The Kiss My Foot match. We had an IC title match between Barrett and Ezekiel Jackson. Big Show and Kane were the tag team champions around this time, which I totally forgot about. And then John Cena versus The Miz in an I Quit match. Not the biggest fan of the Over the Limit. And Capital Punishment. I love this spine. I love the stars and stripes, the red, white, and the blue. Cheesy cover. This is definitely a cheese. And the same disc art. But I thought the matches here were good. You had Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler. Alex Riley versus The Miz. Big Show versus Del Rio. Again, Barrett versus Ezekiel Jackson. Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk. Orton versus Christian. They had about 5 to 6 pay-per-view matches this year. Evan Bourne versus Jack Swagger. And then Cena versus R-Truth. I liked R-Truth as a heel. I thought he could have won and been a pretty good WWE champ. Especially in this era, where not much really stood out. And then finally, Money in the Bank 2011. Probably one of the best pay-per-views of this year, of this decade. The 2010s were just very, very PG. And I think CM Punk helped a lot in this era anyway. We do have a spoiler cover, but it's just, that moment of becoming WWE champion there. Awesome cover. This is an awesome pay-per-view from top to bottom. Again, Orton and Christian. CM Punk versus John Cena. One of my favorite matches. And then our 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. So 2011, or 2010, they did start the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So in 2011, you had Del Rio winning the briefcase and the Royal Rumble in the same year. I think he's the only man to do that. And SmackDown, Daniel Bryan ended up winning. So disc art is pretty decent, I guess. But fantastic pay-per-view. Probably in the top 5 of the decade. SummerSlam, not so much. I don't like pretty much anything about this pay-per-view. So this year is still pre-Brock Lesnar. Brock wouldn't return until the following WrestleMania. Again, we got Orton versus Christian, Punk versus Cena. Looks like we got Morrison, Mysterio, and Kofi here. Got a Divas title match. Or no, that was a 6-man, not a triple threat, but Sheamus versus Mark Henry. This was an okay pay-per-view. Of course, we had the stuff with Kevin Nash interfering and then Del Rio cashing in. I wasn't a big fan of that at the time because I thought they really killed Punk's momentum. Obviously, they didn't, but it really, I think, hurt the storyline, just randomly giving Del Rio the title in the midst of this storyline with Punk. I guess you're trying to build up 2 guys with the sake of one, or one instance. Night of Champions 2011. You got Del Rio versus Cena, Orton versus Henry, and Triple H versus CM Punk. I'm pretty sure I watched this recently. I honestly can't remember because this was not a good show. Yeah, I'm almost pretty sure I watched this. Because I'm pretty sure this is where, no, I'm getting these mixed up now. I think I'm getting Vengeance mixed up with, yeah. I might have watched it, I can't remember, but anyways, Mark Henry becomes the World Heavyweight Champion here. I thought that was definitely a highlight of this show. CM Punk versus Triple H I could have done without, and then Del Rio versus Cena really never did anything for me. I'm not the biggest Del Rio fan. Next up would be Vengeance. And yes, we got a spoiler cover again. Mark Henry and Big Show break in the ring. Mark Henry's run as champion was pretty short, but I think it left an impact. And the next month, we had CM Punk and Triple H teaming up versus The Miz and R-Truth. The makeshift tag teams were fairly dominant in this era. We have a last man standing match after the ring breaks, which I thought was actually very well done. Del Rio retains against Cena. Got Ziggler versus Ryder, and then Air Boom versus Ziggler and Swagger. So you got Ziggler competing in back-to-back matches. You got Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. I thought that was a good match. So I'd say check out Vengeance 2011. I always like that name, Vengeance, for a pay-per-view. Vengeance, Unforgiven, Hell in a Cell 2011. Not the best show. It just seemed like in this era they were really hurting the Hell in a Cell name. And look what we got this year. So they gave the title back to Cena. And then back to Del Rio. I think this really hurt Punk's run. They gave him the title at Money in the Bank in one of the biggest matches of all time. Just to have him drop it a month later, and then he's facing Triple H, and then he's in this goofy Hell in a Cell match. You had Sin Cara versus Sin Cara on the show. Mark Henry and Randy Orton in Hell in a Cell. These were not the greatest Cell matches ever. Also, this is where Cody Rhodes introduces the classic IC title. That'll always be something to remember. So, decent event, I'd say, I think Cena gets locked out of the cell, and then all kind of crap happens. And we had Survivor Series from Madison Square Garden. Never before, never again. Never before have WrestleMania opponents tag team partners. This was so stupid. I did like seeing The Rock return, though. That was always something I wanted to see. Pretty bland discard. So you got The Rock and Cena versus Miz and R-Truth. Del Rio versus CM Punk. Mark Henry versus The Big Show. I liked how CM Punk came out with Howard Finkel as his announcer. And this is where it all started. CM Punk's infamous, 434-day reign as champion. This all started here. And then finally, TLC 2011. Epic cover. I always like that. The ice cream bar, CM Punk. And it also has a table, ladder, and chair on it. And here we had a sledgehammer ladder match between Triple H and Kevin Nash. We had a WWE title match, triple threat ladder. Also a chairs match, Mark Henry and The Big Show, and this is where Daniel Bryan cashed in. Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett. Cody Rhodes versus Booker T. And then Ziggler versus Zack Ryder. So it's pretty cool going back and looking at some of these shows. 2011 was not the best year by any standards, but it did have a few memorable spots throughout the year. The Miz as WWE champion, I always enjoyed. Seeing Mark Henry holding the world title. Christian also holding the world title in the year. The stuff with CM Punk and Cena. We had The Rock's return, which was very cool. So this year was okay. It wasn't as bad as I remembered it. I definitely recommend going back, watch some of these pay-per-views, and let me know what you thought, guys. For now, we'll talk to you later. Peace.